Where your attention goes. This discussion is based on quotes from Neville Goddard and inspirations upon reflection of experiences that I've gathered over the years. Number one, through past influences prior to reading Neville's information. Neville really showed up within my awareness back in 2018. And it was around that time where I read the book Power of Awareness. And what he brought to my understanding was deeper realizations of the pathway that I went on to create entrepreneurial success. And when I decided that in 2013 I was going to transition out of my IT business, got rid of all my possessions and went to Austria, Europe, to figure out what to do next, I received an inner voice hunch, a conversation within, that inspired me to release my first video, which was living out of a backpack, in which I described the story and the idea of being focused on what really matters. And success is inevitable. You will get to your end result, your destination. And then perhaps at a certain point, you'll realize as you reflect back that the journey was about purifying the mind. So in other words, there's the end result, the destination, where you desire to be, and the journey that brings you there, purifying the mind. Now, I was inspired by this kind of information from Think and Grow Rich, but I really believe that the seed was planted a lot earlier in my life about where your attention goes and how the subconscious mind is impressed by where your attention goes, as well as how where your attention goes reveals about what is within your subconscious. I grew up listening to Tupac Shakur, and I remember one of my favorite songs that he had was Changes. And in there he said, "Take the evil out of people and they'd be acting right." And to me, this awakened something within me. It made me realize that we, as a core, are basically good. We're good. And we learn different aspects or interpretations of reality from the outer world, which impress the subconscious mind, and we behave accordingly. Now, one of the best ways that I found intuitively to cleanse myself from disempowering programming was to pick a goal and see it all the way till completion, which is what I had learned through Think and Grow Rich. He said, the sixth sense and infinite intelligence can only really be understood by somebody who follows all the other principles, because I realize now in retrospect, following the other principles purifies the mind. Now, as you purify your mind, you experience what is called focused attention, or otherwise known as the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious alignment, otherwise also known as divine will. It is in the divine will where you receive your heart desires, where you receive visions of who you really are and who you are meant to be. And this journey then calibrates you to the realization of the goals, the desires fulfilled, the wishes fulfilled, based on outer world circumstances changing and primarily yourself changing. And so what really inspired me to go deeper into Neville's information was his primary concept, no one to change but self, which spoke very deeply to me. And through the lineage of understanding this information, I realized that this is exactly what has happened along the journey. I have changed. And as we continue to change, our attention goes to reveal in the outer world the unseen reality. All of creation is complete, and we are witnessing the revelation of the unseen reality. In other words, what we see is based on our attention, and what we put our attention on is based on what is within the subconscious, be it harmonious thoughts or thoughts of disharmony. He says, the great secret of success is to focus the attention on the feeling of the wish fulfilled without permitting any distraction. Now, most of this is subconscious. However, we realize that what is in our subconscious has been impressed from our past to create what we call the self-image, or the concept of self. Now, this concept of self is interpreting reality from certain perspectives, automatically assigned by the subconscious. So in order to maintain the accurate interpretations of the outer world experiences, accurate thinking, cause and effect, inner world accurate, in alignment with what we desire to create, we have to release from distraction. Now, many ways of doing this. You could do things in the outer world that will put your attention. You can clean up your outer world. You can let go. You can minimize distraction in the outer world to keep your mind in affirmation, or what is related to what you desire to create. And I like a combination, which is changing the meaning within. Now, in the last handful of videos, I talked about letting go, the concept of letting go, and my 3 ways of letting go. Inspired change, which is no one to change but self, but changing yourself within. Number 2, full acceptance. Accepting whatever it is that is in the outer world by again changing the meaning within, or accepting it for the meaning that is presented in a way that affirms what you desire to create. You don't see it as a hindrance or something that is holding you back to bringing forth what you truly desire, which is from the superconscious. The 3rd is letting it go. Conscious choice, letting it go. Just removing it. Now, all of this is done by the change of consciousness within. These are all effects that are a result of the change of the consciousness within, which is what he refers to as the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now, the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the affirmation on the subconscious mind that what you desire to create is yours. You say, it is mine. It is complete. So it has been written, so it shall be done. Affirmation. He says, all progress depends upon an increase of attention. The idea which impel you into actions are those which dominate the consciousness, those which possess the attention. When the seed is planted at the earlier stages of the journey, where you realize that you are going to create what you desire, you automatically begin to move in a direction where that seed brings forth certain beliefs, perspectives, ideas, hunches, and inspirations within. Inner voice conversation, intuition-based receiving information within that causes you to interpret reality from those perspectives. That is a sign that the consciousness has been dominated by the idea. And as he says here, the idea which impel you to action are those which dominate your consciousness. So that's one of the reasons why we have certain attention expression. In other words, our attention goes in the direction of who we really are within. No one to change but self within. Through reflecting on where our attention goes, we can inventory what our concept of ourself is and change it. And then our attention goes in whatever direction that is in harmony. I'll speak from experience on this. I have the ability now to keep my attention on what is related without experiencing distraction to degrees higher than I ever imagined previously. But now it's obvious. And as a result of this great work, which is what we do on ourselves through the discussions that we've had over the last how many videos, and more importantly, the work you do within yourself, you are experiencing this as well. It's called divine will or autotelic. It is a result of excluding certain aspects out of our consciousness, the undesirable. He says, when you set out to master the movements of attention, which must be done if you would successfully alter the course of observed events, it is then you realize how little control you exercise over your imagination and how much it is dominated by sensory impressions and by a drifting on the tides of idle moves. And one of my favorite books is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Now, the concept that he discusses with this devil is the idea of drifting. Drifting is leaving your mind open to outer world impressions without having conscious awareness of what is being impressed on the subconscious. And if we allow that to happen, what happens is we accept the programming in our subconscious without reflecting, inner voice of discernment, if it is in harmony or if it is related. So as a result of now realizing of how the subconscious mind works, which is impression and expression, we allow ourselves to affirm the feeling of the wish fulfilled and observe as we continue to move down the direction, or in other words, more accurately put, our attention goes in certain directions that are in harmony. And as we move down the journey, we purify the mind. In other words, we change the meaning of whatever shows up, if needed, to be in alignment with what we desire to create. Otherwise, we're allowing sensory impressions as a result of the drifting to impress the subconscious mind and create accordingly. And those sensory impressions may or may not be in alignment with what you desire to create. It can impress the subconscious mind and cause your attention to go in a different direction. Now, we'll look at that and say, I don't have focused attention. I'm lacking focused attention. The truth is that you do have focused attention. It's where is your attention going based on the programming within, the being within. So let's talk about recalibrating attention. He says, therefore, when you know what you want, you must deliberately focus your attention on the feeling of your wish fulfilled until that feeling fills the mind and crowds out all other ideas out of consciousness. Now, as you develop an ability to work with your subconscious, what you'll find is that you will have a great relationship with your subconscious. You will build a relationship with your subconscious, and you will be able to impress the subconscious via your imagination. And as a result of impressing the subconscious mind, what you'll notice is that automatically certain elements are excluded out of your consciousness within and externalized accordingly. However, on the journey, as you build a relationship with your subconscious, which is also known as purifying the mind, which is cause and effect reflection, changing the meaning of what shows up, or in other words, letting go of past programming through inspired change, full acceptance, or unconditional release. Again, watch those videos that I've done. I'll put some links in the description. You will exclude or remove or release, more accurately put, out of consciousness ideas that either appear or are actually not in harmony with what you desire to create. The goal is to bring ourselves, in other words, let go of disharmony and bring ourselves to a place of acceptance or affirmation, or in other words, thank you confirmation. I call this thank you confirmation, which is the same as the feeling of the wish fulfilled. In other words, if you desire to create something and you have affirmed it on your subconscious, you give thanks. You feel the thanks. You know it's going to be brought forth. That's how you know you've impressed the subconscious. Now, in order to build a relationship with our subconscious, I've made many videos on this: inner voice conversation, cause and effect reflection, understanding how the subconscious mind works, working with it from many different perspectives. The perspectives that I choose to work with them are self-talk, audio affirmations, revision, and environment. By the way, as you listen to audio programs from those that really inspire you, people like Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, and even artistic expression, as mentioned, that I was impressed by Tupac's music back in the days. you affirm that information on your subconscious mind. Now, as you affirm that information in your subconscious mind, you begin to create reality accordingly. So it's also very important to create your own audio programs that are individualized for you, which are actually a collection of affirmations. And you could do it in a creative way, poetry, conversation, or affirmative statements. When you listen to whatever programs, music, artistic expressions, or your own affirmations, and you feel the thank you confirmation, as in you identify with what you're hearing, that is the point when it's impressed on the subconscious. So we let go of elements that are not in harmony through this process. And when you continue to purify the mind through these processes, what you'll find is you have a greater relationship with your subconscious, and it'll be easier to affirm on your subconscious. And as a result, automatically you'll find that ideas that are not in harmony are excluded out of your consciousness as you observe the changes in the outer world. You'll see it. People will change, environment will change, circumstance will change, and information will change to reflect the changes within. He says the attentive attitude involves selection. For when you pay attention, it signifies that you have decided to focus your attention on one object or state rather than on another. Now, we can do this consciously through conscious choice, through letting go, or any other conscious ways of choosing. Or you could do this subconsciously by releasing the programming within that causes you to identify with certain aspects in your reality in which you call it lack of focus, or I am focusing on a certain direction. I don't understand why I'm focusing on this direction, but I appear to have lack of focus. All of those is a realization and a reflection of the subconscious programming within that causes us to keep our attention on that object in the outer world, because it is a cross-reference and relation parallel to the inner world. So attention as affirmation. So in other words, what your attention goes on is also what you are affirming. He says the power of attention is the measure of your inner force. Concentrated observation of one thing shuts out other things and causes them to disappear. Now this is happening in the world within, but as you observe what has been externalized from the world within, you could see it as if you dwell upon it, you further affirm it. So you release it using one of the three ways of letting go, and or using one of the subconscious mind modalities of self-talk, audio affirmations, revision, or environment. And we're speaking more about environment here. You could change it in the environment, or you could change it within. In other words, you can change the meaning you have about that aspect. As you change the meaning about that aspect, the things you look at change. As one of the more popular sayings in personal development goes, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. He says your attention must be developed, controlled, and concentrated in order to change your concept of yourself successfully and thereby changing your future. This is what we call this the great work, purifying the mind. And there's many exercises that you can do. He gives one, actually. And I want to share that exercise because I believe it's very powerful. So a few deeper points of reflection before we go into the exercise. Number one, the outer world is reflecting the inner world. Your attention reveals what is related based on your inner world, the programming within. Number two, your subconscious is impressed to the current impressions, and as in the outer world, impressions are suggestions from the outer world, or our interpretations from the outer world, or our, more accurately put, our interpretations within based on what shows up in the outer world, and we can change it. Even if the outer world appears to have very persistent suggestions, you still can change it within. You don't have to take in the suggestions of the outer world and accept them for what they are. You can even take the impressions from the outer world and find the nuggets in the impressions. In other words, I'll give you a great example for this. Is let's say you listen to an audio program, or you go to school and you listen to somebody giving a lecture on a particular topic. And perhaps you resonate with 80% of that information, or even 10 or 15% of that information. That information speaks to you really deeply, connects with your intuition and your inner voice, and reveals. and the rest of it doesn't resonate. You don't have to allow that information that doesn't resonate to affirm the subconscious and believe everything. You could discern, inner voice of discernment, what information is in harmony and what is not. Because you got to remember that everybody's also sharing their own perspective, and we're all individual expressions of the same mind, and each individual is infinite. Each individual is actually so individualized and unique in their own expression that to assume that their entire way of looking at reality is the exact way is to become like them. If you choose to, then so be it. But if you want to do the great work and find out who you really are, which is connected within via the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious alignment, which happens during the journey of picking a goal and seeing it all the way to completion. That's one of the ways that I do it. And that's why I really recommend entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship purifies the mind. I've seen this happen to me. Also, what purifies the mind is relationships, especially romantic, intimate relationships. It's one of the best ways to purify your mind, because it is in that particular experience where a lot of you is going to be revealed. Also, service to others. Pick any service that can benefit the lives of others and perform that service, and you will find many aspects within yourself that you can purify. All of these things work, and all of this will help you understand how what is within, the meaning within, the beliefs within, the assumptions within are creating reality, and also, more accurately put in what we're discussing here, acting as affirmations based on the being within. So your subconscious is impressed by the current impressions, outer world, and as you become more consciously aware, you bring more of the subconscious into awareness, you'll be able to discern from the outer world and pick and choose what is in harmony and understand. Also, which further purifies the mind, to help us realize that really, when we say where our attention goes, is actually what we subconsciously believe is related to some aspect within our subconscious. So here's his exercise that he shares for attention. It's a very powerful exercise. He says, to aid in mastering the control of your attention, practice this exercise. Night after night, just before you drift to sleep, strive to hold your attention on the activities of the day in reverse order. Focus your attention on the last thing you did, that is, getting to bed, and then move it backward in time over the events until you reach the first event of the day, which is getting out of bed. Now, this may not be an easy exercise, he says, but just as specific exercises greatly help in developing specific muscles, this will greatly help in developing the muscle of your attention. What it will also do is, as it develops this muscle, is it will also allow you to, and I've been working with an exercise like this, something very similar. I actually do this. I go back and revisit the events in my day and recreate them, which is his format called revision, keeping my attention on this. Now, this is something that I got better at over the years through the journey of entrepreneurship. And all of us go through it. We get better at it. We continue to get better and better. And my goal in this video is to help you get better faster, realizing that what you put your attention on is further affirming and also revealing at the same time. So if we can then simplify it by developing an ability to reverse in our mind via this exercise all the chain of events from the moment where you get into bed all the way to where you get out of bed in the morning, then you are developing your attention ability. Now, this will play out in the outer world as you develop it as keeping your attention to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, what you desire to create. And then the information that is presented on the sequence that is in harmony to what you desire to create. And from the entrepreneurial perspective, it could be the morning routine, the workday routine, the end of day process that you follow. Everything is included in there, from flow-based tasks and activities, the conscious rejuvenation, conscious reflection. This is all intentional. From morning till night, it'll become who you are, and you'll find that automatically that information that you're taking in through that process, through the entire sequence throughout the day, as a result of developing your attention through an exercise like this, will affirm the subconscious mind and recreate itself. And as reality continues to be recreated by what you consciously affirm in your subconscious mind through this process, you experience more of flow and autotelic, which further purifies the mind and allows you to be who you really want to be and create what you really want to create. And also, do it from more of a place of joy, bliss, ease, and alignment, more accurately put, between the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. If you want to copy this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.